Central on-prem. So this is the on-premises or on-prem management that is mimicking or similar to Aruba Central, the cloud-based management. Now, this is, if you like, striking the balance between Airwave, which is probably some people see this as an advanced version of Airwave or Airwave, probably version 10, um, and then in some and the cloud-based Central. Now, the reason we do this because there are a lot of cases people don't like to have the data in the cloud, so the customer data should be kept within the company and under the company jurisdiction or the institute, maybe service provider, maybe a governmental body. They require all data to be located locally. My name is Nafith, and that's my email, my phone number, which is my WhatsApp number, and that's my YouTube channel if you'd like to have a look at some other resources available. Now, in this workshop, we would like to cover and we'll look also at some examples. So we're going to show you, log into Central On-Prem, show you how to manage switches, look at some APs if available. So we'll show you some examples and we'll be able to push settings from the Central On-Prem back to the switch or to the switches. So what's Central On-Premises or On-Prem? That's one thing. Talking about the onboarding devices, how to add devices to your Central On-Premises. Now, one of the key parameters now is the groups, sites, and labels. So these are key concepts. We need to understand them. We might show you instant AP configuration, and I would like to show you the difference between Central On-Prem and what are the features available and how do you deploy it and so on and so forth. I will not show you how to install it, but I'll show you how to look into the command line as well. We can look into that. And you can perform some maintenance, resetting the Central On-Prem from a command line. Visual RF, which is like heat map stuff. We look at wired configuration. Now it's possible to push configuration from Central On-Prem into devices, that be switches or APs. Central On-Prem also can manage third-party devices to a certain extent. Again, you have to read the documentation for that. And then we look at admin and maintenance and then monitoring and troubleshooting. Now, we will not be able to do much on the client side of things because we don't have a client on here. We will be able to just show you how to push configs and testing. Obviously, when you deploy this Central On-Prem, you are able to deploy it, and then, of course, then you are able to test it in this case. Central On-Prem is the on-premises version of cloud-based Central. Now, within HPE Aruba Central, they have also called HPE GreenLake. So GreenLake is the umbrella under which there are multiple different services, things like compute, and then one of the other services we have also called storage. We have also called networking. In Central On-Prem, that's the only service available within the on-premises for that specific instance of the private, if you like, HPE GreenLake. In Central On-Prem, if you have any upgrade that might be required, then you will be prompted when you connect to the Central On-Prem. When you log in to that, you will be prompted for upgrade. And in this example, just an example, the current running version on this, when the screenshot was taken 2.57, and there's a new version, it will give you an upgrade, and it will check, perform readiness check for that, and they will give you a deadline of 90 days. Obviously, 1 day is gone. Now this is 89 days. If you look into the actual Central On-Prem, the example I'm showing you here, there's no, this one runs on version 2.5.8.9, and there's no available upgrade, so there's no nothing's up to date, and that's it. Simple. You will not be presented with this when you're connected to that one. Now, Central on-prem or central on-premises is a natural kind of progression. Um, and they started with Airwave. Airwave was acquired by Aruba then in 2008, and then Aruba was acquired by HP, now HPE, in 2015. Obviously, then we're talking about the progression of Airwave upgrade into central on-premises, at least to make sure that we have a cloud-based version and we have on-prem based version. And R&D will continue. No plans to end of life time for that one. Now, within Central On-Prem, indeed, that that comes or fulfills the Aruba vision of ESP, Edge Service Platform. And we're talking about the three main components or elements in this one. We're talking about AI Ops, United Infrastructure, even though Central On-Prem obviously can also add, you can add third-party switches by whatever method like SNMP settings and so on. Cloud to edge security. That's part of the vision that is what's so called Central On-Prem will also fulfill. The difference obviously is local, which is private cloud in this case rather than public cloud. When it comes to which way to go, shall I go cloud and shall I go on-prem? That all depends on what you're really looking for, what kind of support you would like to have. Now, in the case, if you are running, so here you can see the common features between the cloud version of Central and the on-prem version of Central. If you like, for example, support Aruba OS 10, even that is in the roadmap to be supported on Central on-prem, at the point of we presenting this, Aruba OS 10 is not supported on Central on-prem. If that is the plan and there are no restrictions on, I mean, there's no really requirements for the data to stay on-prem, not in the cloud, then you need to go for the cloud. If your intention is to support things like Aruba OS 8 controller base, like the fact you maintain, you install it, you look after it, you upgrade it yourself, that will add an overhead definitely. Now, that's if something you need it, then of course there's always pros and cons for every system you follow or you adapt. When you consider the on-prem one, if you have large campus controller base, version 8, the older one, deployment, high secure data center deployment, switch and AP management only, security and cloud concern based on the probably GDPR, some other standards that you would like to make sure that the client data is secure, needs of air gap solution that is simply speaking to make sure that you are able to separate the data, your data and the customer data from the other data as well. In any high security certificate requirement like FIPS, for example. Cloud, if you have distributed platform deployment and no concern about, i.e., no customer requirements, so there are no stringent requirements for the data not to be kept in the cloud. Full stack ASP, including cloud authentication, IoT, 5G integration, and so on, is D1 deployment that is impossible in Central On-Prem that is not there, and MSP, which is multiple service provider. It means for example, if you are a service provider company or managed service provider in the sense that you operate and then you have, say, schools or you have businesses, you look after their network. Now, what we're talking about, Central On-Prem can manage devices like, as we said, campus APs, remote APs, controller-based version 8 with mobility conductor, which is mobility master, the old name for that. Instant AP. So this is only manageable by Central On-Prem. Obviously, you can manage them on the local interface, and you can manage them with Airwave with less capabilities. But then Instant AP can be managed by both Central as well as the cloud-based and on-prem base. And now the other thing is, if you like to compare between Airwave and Central On-Prem, Again, you can go up to 11 appliances that support up to 40K. Surely that is a huge upgrade and improvement over the airwave. OVS Central is unlimited, and you look at redundancy and some other features as well. I left you with this one as well, so you can have a look into it. And look into Central, you can see that has everything basically. That's what it is. Right, and then also we're talking about the features that are supported by all of these, Central, On-Prem, Airwave, and Central. And we're talking about the continuation, the license model, for example. The previous one was the licensing model as well. And the last but not the least, looking into Central GUI. This is they're very much similar to each other, except the fact Central On-Prem is slightly older interface than Aruba Central. Airwave is different. Right. Now, you can deploy Central On-Prem on brownfield, means maybe an already existing customer. There's a migration tool for that as well. That requires and capabilities of Central On-Prem is obvious in this case. What you see here, if you do deploy Central On-Prem one node, you can do this. You can deploy 3 nodes, you can deploy 5 nodes, you can deploy 7 nodes, plus you can actually, the update probably 1.5 years ago was you were able to deploy 11 nodes. Now this dictates what are the capabilities and limitations based on the number of nodes, i.e. number of server on premises you deploy. The maximum number, if you deploy 11 nodes, 11 servers, is 40K, 40K. Comes after that 25K, i.e. devices, i.e. Access points, switches, controllers, and so on. 16K if you deploy 5, 8K if you deploy 3, and 1K if you deploy 1 node. And what are the limitations? I'm going to show you a quick one. NetOp here is supported in all of them, but then redundancy, API, AI connectivities, and more features available. If you do have, the more you add, the more features you are able to do to support. Here is just an example of if you deploy 1 node, what's missing. If you deploy 3, 5, 7, and then 11, we have something similar to that, continuing to what we have, and you can clearly see if you have certain features that you require, then you need to deploy extra nodes. Obviously, things like CO2 footprint, things like maintenance, things like cost, of course, that will all come into play in this case. So assume decision was made to move to go to COP. You can, of course, go to the HP supporting portal, and you can look at the documentation and look into the Central On-Prem. You can look at the software, you can look at documentation, and so we can search here Central to Central on premises. Onboarding devices, we're going to look how to onboard the devices inside Aruba Central On-Prem. Now, when you log into Central On-Prem, obviously when you log in, you go to straight away into the Aruba Central. So when you log in, indeed, you will be in Aruba Central itself. Now, from the Aruba Central interface, you can go back to the Home tab. So click on this. That will take you back. This is Aruba Central, showing you some sites. I'll show you how to create these things. But in here, that will take you Account Home. So click on Account Home. That will take you back to HPE GreenLake, simply speaking. Now, this is, if you like, the private cloud that is installed that comes with the Central on premises. Here, if you need to add a device, initially assume the device is not in the inventory, click on Device tab. If we need to add a device, we need some information about that device. So I need to add a switch now. I'm going to just show an example how to add a switch. So here we have device inventory, and I need to add a device. Adding a device in Aruba Central can be done using multiple different ways. You can use a comma separated value file. You download this file, and that will show you details of that specific file, and you just fill it out. If you need, Central can also manage third party. You can look into third party comma separated value file. You can discover device discovery. So you give a device name, and you will have configured HTTPS profile on the device, and then that profile you create here matches the HTTPS profile. SNMP profile will have been also created on the device. Now, usually, an easier way is to go serial number. If you have small number of devices, then serial number, MAC address, and port number, and part number, which is the model basically. So we're gonna add two switches right now with the serial number, MAC at least one switch to start with, serial number, MAC address, and part number. You can issue the command on the switch, show system. That will give you the serial number, will give you the MAC address. Now you can also run the command show module. This is one way of just finding the part number, and that is the part number, so which is a product number basically. So we're gonna copy this information, part number, put it here, and we'll go to the serial number and MAC address. Central on-prem, Central is clever. Even if you post the MAC address in whatever format, it will convert it into colon format. And then the serial number comes here, and there we go. So these are the three entries here. You can just see what I mean by that. I can add another switch, but I would like to add the other switch using comma separated value file to show you another way to do it. Go next, and these optional settings I will leave it as is. And that's the information. You click finish. The device has been added. Now, if you look and search for that by one of these parameters, now we look at the serial number. Notice subscription has been assigned. If you click, so that's a switch, serial number. You click on it, you see details of that switch. It's part of the inventory. It doesn't mean that is now connected. It is in the inventory. So when we enable the connection, you should be able to see it. Now, there's something called auto subscribe. The auto subscribe feature is basically what we're saying. When you discover the device, you assign the subscription or the key to that device, i.e. the license. Here we can see, if you click edit on this one, it says in here, this is, you're going to assign to the switches advanced switch license, right? So if you look at inventory, because of that, we have that switch already auto-subscribed straight away. Now that's one thing, one step in the addition of the switch into the central on-premises. What we need also, we need to configure the switch itself to be accepted in Aruba Central, i.e. to accept. So if we look into the switch here, and we issue the command, because remember this is, we'll double check the version, show version. In version 10.16 and above, the command for Aruba Central has been changed, and now this is 6300, support VSX, stacking, dual control plane stacking. And if you issue the command show Aruba Central is not autocomplete. It is there, but they wanted you not to use this command. So the command we would like to use is show HPE ANW Central, which is the new central, basically. Click on this. You notice there's nothing, because by default, the device or the switch tries to go to that location and is not really enabled to go there, basically. Even if it goes there, we don't have a license for that. Central is not there. To be able to connect the device to Central on-prem, Number one, you need to have reachability, obviously, and the center on prem in our case has the IP address of, we can ping it, 192.168.200 and .190. So there we go. There's something with the center on prem, so we're going to do the config mode and HP new central. You install center on prem. Obviously, there's something called location override. Location override is to say this is the location of Aruba Central. And we are just location override. That is the IP address or the virtual IP address of Aruba Central on premises. If I show HP Aruba Central or New Central now, you can see it connected. It is connected to Aruba Central in this case. That's not a problem. So the connectivity has been established. Now, this is the switch is in the inventory. You wouldn't be able, in the inventory, you wouldn't be able to find out if the device is online. This is the private HP GreenLake cloud, and you can only see the switch is listed. This is your switch, or this is the list of devices. This is in the inventory. Whether that is connected or not, that's a different case. Now, we will try to add a device, but a different way. We'd like to add the device using comma separated value file. You click on it and you download a sample file, and then after that, you will populate the sample file with your settings. Now, that's a sample file we have downloaded. So you click here, and then we expand all the cells. All what we have, the three parameters here, the same. These are optional ones. So basically, you provide the serial number for that. So imagine you have 500 devices. You just add all of them in one go, upload it, and that will pick up the new serial number and the new list of devices. So let's find out what's the serial number and MAC address of the new switch. This is the switch that is not connected yet to Aruba Central. So we're going to go for this. Show system. System will show us the serial number. So we're going to go here and we're going to go paste here. Let's see a number. We're going to delete this one. I don't need it because there's no switch as such. And we're going to go MAC address. Obviously, we have to modify it so it is colon separated here. And we're going to go Control V and modify this one. Make sure it is in the correct format. And then we need to go to the part number here, which is the command. We're going to issue the command show module. And that tells us the part number. Part number is, simply speaking, is what's the model of the switch, how many interfaces and so on. So we're going to paste it here. Right. Tag name 1, tag name 2. I'm going to just delete these. Okay. I'm going to save this one as a comma separated value file, which is going to be in the document, just anything. And I'm going to just make it, not Excel sheet, I'm going to just make it comma separated value file. And the file name will be switch, say list. That's it, simple. Now, here, we're going to import that file into here, right? So we can drag and drop, or we can just select the file from the list of what we have, documents, and we have modified, which is the last one, switch list, and we're going to import that. If there are no errors in here, that should not complain, and you should be able to import that file and the switch listed in the file. Has been added. Let's double check and verify the switch is there. Let's have a look at the, say, serial number of the switch. It is there. It's being auto-subscribed with that key. That's a MAC address, and that's the switch serial number, obviously, with the part number or part name. Okay, so the switch has been added. Switch has been assigned a license. Now, We need to look at the access point. So when we're going to look at the access point, what's the story of that access point? Some access points have already been added. I would like to show you an access point that we would like to add also. If we add a device, so let's go back to devices. We need to add a device. Again, I would like to add a device using serial number MAC address. And I've listed my access point. So here there's an access point which has details. That's the access point MAC address connected to one of the switches. It has this IP address. I try to SSH to that AP. Whether I am successful or not, I don't know. So I'm going to do SSH admin at that IP address, and cannot connect to that, unreachable. So that access point is unreachable. I'm just going to show you how to connect that AP to Aruba Central. I do have details of that AP, the serial number, the part number, and the MAC address. So I'm gonna just copy these details. Here, this is the MAC address of that access point. We're gonna just paste it here. That's a MAC address, as you could see it from the show LLDP neighbor on the switch that is connected to, and the serial number will be this one, and then the part number which indicates the model and the capabilities of that specific AP. We're gonna do it part number in here. Enter this one. Go next. Go next. We leave this and then finish. That will have added that access point. Let's have a look and search by serial number for that, by part number, obviously. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just search for the serial number for that access point. That's it is there as auto-assigned subscription tier of advanced AP, MAC address details, and so on and so forth. So now we do have that. Now we need to make sure, again, remember, we have added the switch, but one of the other switches, so this switch, I would like to make sure the Aruba Central is there basically. So show HPE new Aruba Central is not connected. What we need to do is we config HPE new Aruba Central. Location override is the IP address of our Central On Prem, which is 192.168 in this example, .200, and that's .190. I issue the command again. It's there, basically show Aruba Central. There we go. It's connected and it's on in Aruba Central. So if I go back, now we'll talk about the basic concept of a group, sites, and labels. So a group is where you push the config to a device. So any member or any device belongs to a group. They will be receiving the configuration that you push into the group itself. Whether these be access points, or they be a switch or a gateway or any device, they will be inheriting the settings in the group. Now with that, there are two types of groups. We have user interface group and we have template based group. We will also double check and we'll show you how to create these groups. So the way you do it is, simply speaking, you go to organization. I'll show you practically how to create groups. So go to the dashboard, then you need to go to Aruba Central itself. There we go, Central. So that's the Central interface. We go to organization here, and now there are so many of them, of course, because we have created so many groups basically. Now, when you create a group, by default, to start with, there's a default group called default, and that's the only group that you cannot modify, you can't add, you can't change, you can't do anything on this one. And if you look at the group itself, let's say it's central. We look at the settings. Is Aruba version 8 architecture, is able to have campus branch access points, is able to take gateways, mobility controllers, mobility gateways, is able to take CX and Aruba OS switches, and so on. Now we will not touch this, and it is a user interface group. What we're going to do is we're going to show you how to create a group and a group type. So we will add in the plus sign, and the group itself, it has to have a name. Let us say lab group. Now it's up to you. What you would like to add into the group? Are you going to add all of these? Or are you going to create a group for only gateways and controllers? Is it going to create a group only for CX switches and so on? Let's create a group for CX. So we're going to say lab CX group. Now at this stage, you can make this group as template if you would like, and show you how to make template as well as the other type of a group. Now if you create template here, we're going to say for switches, because we only added, but if I selected gateways and APs, you have the option, of course. If you'd like to make template, normally we wouldn't go for access point templates and controllers. Easier to manage APs and gateways by a GUI group. Now, if I decided that this is going to be for all of them, and I say template for switches only, and here we can see the options you have. For access points, an instant AP, because that doesn't support version 10, remember. And for the mobility, it will only support mobility in this case. For the CX switches, can support both. I can just leave it for both, or just go for CX. And if you would like to, and then you go next, or you'd like to add. So I'm going to add this, and that group now has been created. As the name indicates, we can search for the group name. So we're going to go lab, and that would show me that group. Now that group is a template group, TG, next to that group name. And if you click on the edit, you can clone the group, obviously. You can delete because there are no devices yet. 0 means no devices. So click on the edit, we can see the name and persona of the group. What is it for? And here we said this is for Aruba OS version 8 and for CX switches and so on and so forth. Right, we're going to save this. Now we'd like to add our switches, these two switches that we have added to the group. How to do it? You have the possibility that you can see device pre-provision. We have 20 devices here, or you can see if the device is connected successfully. In here we can see all connected devices. Right now we have 12. 2 of them are unprovisioned. If you click on this, you'll find our switches that we have just added are not provisioned. So we're gonna just continue, click on this, and move them to the group. So the way we've done it, we picked up the 2 switches, so we went, you can search of course, but we know these are our switches. Click on them, click on the move devices icon, and you pick up the group. You can just type the name, so it's easier for you to find the group. And there we go. So these now are members of that group. And the same applies to access points if you'd like to add access point and so on and so forth. Right. Now, if we go to the global, before we just look into any group, in Aruba Central, the global here, and click on devices, these are the devices that are turned on, if you like. So they are visible now. I have 2 access points, 5 access points, 1 only online, 4 offline, and they have these radios. So 1 online is this AP with that IP address, and it is connected with that serial number. You can see details of this. You can click on this and look at the columns here. You'd like to see if clients connected and so on and so forth. And for the switches, we have probably a bunch of switches. These are our switches that we have just moved into Lab CX group. Again, you can customize the columns you'd like to view, make it disappear or show up, and so on, which is really quite useful and quite handy. You can filter based on certain parameters, like based on the IP, based on the MAC address, because you might have hundreds of these switches, and it's not easy visually to see these switches with a with your eye. So you can always filter and search and so forth. These are our two switches. Notice all these switches are online. Look at this, green, green, green. It means these switches are online. Right. Now these switches are members of that group. And we have no controllers, I believe. So if you click on the controllers, you see there's nothing listed because we have 0 controllers. Okay. Now let's have a look and try to go to that specific group. So you can always filter. So we're gonna, you might have so many groups. It's not easy to filter, but it's easy here. I can see these with 2 switches because this group, I said to the group, can be for access points and controllers as well. You'll see the tabs. If you had configured the group only for switches, you would have seen only switches tab. There we go. That's a list of switches that we have for that group. And if we click on the config tab here, notice the config tab here. This is template based group. By default, template group has nothing, meaning it has no template whatsoever. I will not create a template in this case. Just to show you that you can add the switches to a template based group. What I am going to do, indeed, I will create another group that is GUI based group. So I'm going to go to the global here, and basically we have these. Click on it, and then I'll add this one. I'm going to create one. I will call it distribution CX GUI. Okay, so just probably, yeah. And then I'll make it only for switches. I will not make it template here. I will go next. Now I would like to make it for both, just to show you that we can do it for the legacy one and for the CX switch type. Right. And then I will go to move the switches from our old template, this one, and we're going to select these 2 switches, and we're going to move from this template group into this GUI group. And the GUI group, we said distribution, this one. Now it says in here, because we're moving it from template based group to a GUI, you will lose config if you don't do that. So retain CX switch configuration, right? The device will adapt the destination group config. Alternatively, you can CX switches can keep the existing configuration. So we need to keep, and we would like to be the case. We're gonna move it. And we should expect now when we go to that group, filter based on the group called distribution switch, this one. And we are on the group, we click on devices, we can see a list of devices that are listed here. Both of them are online. Notice the config, because we have selected the group to be for both CX and OS. You notice there's 2 config icons. If you assume that we have added something like OS switches or CX switches and so on, this is for the OS, so I'm gonna just cancel this. Or probably, yeah. So we'll go devices. Let's just add a password. That's okay. This is for the GUI group. Yeah. Right. So I'm going to configure things on the switches. Now, if you look at this, I'll show you the multi-edit feature also in a little bit here. Now, what we can do, let us say, on the switches, we're going to push a VLAN. But this, before we do this, let's verify settings on the switch, or one of the switches. Let's see, we still have the settings correctly done. And we just reconnect again, and right. This test show VLAN. We have two VLANs, VLAN 1, default VLAN, VLAN 200. Let us push a new VLAN from here. So let us say, I'd like to add a new VLAN. VLAN ID, say VLAN 4000, any value. And VLAN, maybe employee, and description, employee VLAN. It's not voice, so we leave it as is. Changes will be deployed to all 6 switches in the group. Because I have not enabled multi-edit, any changes you make in the Google group will be pushed to all switches. We're going to say add. Obviously, create successful, has been successful. Now, if we need to go and double check on the switch, double check, it's hopefully that this VLAN has been added. We're gonna see, show VLAN. It might take a little bit. But before that, even now, we need to check the audit trail that this configuration is okay. It's being pushed, basically. So if you look at the audit trail here, you're gonna find that configuration difference before pushing the switch config. So no shutdown, VLAN name employee. So we create plus means added. VLAN 4000 name is this, description is this, and it's no shutdown. So wherever you see the plus means it has been added to that switch config. So, and if we look into the switch, let's see devices, and let's see VLAN, we can see VLAN 4000 has been added. Let's go back and double check. We can console to the switch from here, but I'll show you that later. Hopefully the VLAN 4000 has been added. Look at this. 4000, the name is employee, is up because we turned it on, and it's a member of lag 256. The reason for this is allowing all VLANs the settings, so it has just become a member of that, unless the interface of that is up. Now that has been pushed to all other switches, so we have a secondary switch here, and if we check show VLAN vs pair, also you'll notice on the other switch we have VLAN to 4000 being added as well. Assume I would like to make changes to certain settings. Let's go back to the configuration. And look at the configuration status here. It tells you if there are any problem. Everything is synchronized. Auto commit state, it says on. Local override, it means the switch or any switch doesn't have any local override in this case. I can do local override, like the VLANs in this case, for example. It tells you, what VLANs available in all of them. Local override are the VLANs that are configured prior to adding this. So you notice that VLAN 10 is there. Admin says enable description this. Local override that does not exist on the configuration, locally configured on the switch or the switches. It says hide unchanged values. Okay, we're going to close this one. Let's go back to the global config. And you can see here settings that I can, whatever you configure here, it will be configured and pushed to both of these switches. This enable multi-edit. Multi-edit means that if I need to make a change, I will make it on a certain device and I might not want to make it on another device. So multi-edit, simply speaking, that in the case where I would like to configure certain parameters might be different on some device from say for example the host name. For example, I might create a VLAN with the interface VLAN with different IP addresses. We do this one for multi-edit. that will give you capability to add parameters without having to be identical. So you have unique per device. So now we have two devices. We can pick up one device, but if I would like to push, I can then do the config, edit config, view config on that device. But also I can pick up two devices or 10 devices, depends how many in the group. And and you can view the config. Now I'd like to view the config on both devices. How does it work? Now that will pick up all the configuration on both of these switches. You see this, two selected. Now the trick here is this. It shows you host name, but notice the italic uppercase host name. It means this is kind of a placeholder. You hover the mouse over it, it will show you the host name on each one of them. Now we are in view mode, so we're not able to edit this. Yeah, you can edit from here and you can view here, and that's the view exactly. Notice admin is there, administrator is there, and the password is, and it will show you it's configured on both. Here, for example, it'll show you that VLAN 10 is not like, notice the VLAN with absolute value, but at the end of the line, it shows you to which device it is configured on. Make it larger a little bit. It tells you clearly this is configured on the VSX primary. VLAN name temp open gear, look at this, it's only configured on the primary. And so at the end of the line, it shows you on which device this has been configured. Right. This, for example, if it is configured on both of these devices, it means it will not show you at the end of the line that it is configured on both. But if you hover the mouse, you'll see that the values on both, right? So that's one parameter that has identical value for both of them. And there we go. You can clearly see identical configuration, location override. But if a parameter configured on one or multiple, whatever, it will list here which device is configured on. Now, what we can do, we can go, that's multi-edit basically. What we can do, we can say add a setting. Let's do it. Let's just create a new VLAN. Yeah. So that's the VSX profile and stuff. But this press enter here. Press enter. Cannot edit the, okay, read, oh, it's a read only, yes. We are not configuring this one. Let's go back, select these devices and go edit config this time. So edit config. And what we have seen before was a view config, so no editing capability. Here we can make change. If you would like to change, you can make change, right click, and here you can make a change, right? But I'm not going to make a change here, but I'm going to scroll at the very bottom of this config list. And I'm going to go here. I'm going to just do this and then go back. Okay. I'm going to type VLAN. So I'm going to create a new VLAN called VLAN 3000. And look, notice it will give you helping hand. It will give you the option. So what are your options? So I'm going to say 3000. Notice what happens now. It will take you straight away and relocate that parameter where the VLANs are supposed to be located now. In this case, for the for Central to know, this is, so what we're going to do, the next config is part of VLAN 3000. So I'm going to use a tab key or I use a spacebar normally to indicate I am configuring settings from within that VLAN, and it tells you exactly what's going on. So we're going to say name, and that name we're going to say testing VLAN. Say testing VLAN. It has indented it as supposed to be. Description, and it will auto-complete it for you. So you can use the tab to complete. And description, this VLAN for test. And we're done. Okay, so Notice the green color line. It indicates that this is, and notice this is configured on both. So if you click here, you are going to configure on both. If I need to add a VLAN for a specific one, so I untick that one now. So whatever config now I'm going to do, that will be done only on the secondary. I'm going to add an interface for VLAN 4000. Let us say, yeah. I'm going to say interface VLAN 4000. It will rearrange it. Do you see where interfaces are located? Now I'm going to say IP address. You can use the tab. Say 1.1.1.100/24. I might say no shutdown, say for example. Yeah. So now that specific one is configured only on that specific switch. Okay. Notice. So we're done. We're going to save this one. Do you still want to save the configuration? Yes. So we've made few changes, and these changes might have been pushed to one, which is the last interface with the VLAN 3000 or 4000. And we created two VLANs or two VLANs in multi-edit, or one VLAN, and that VLAN or the what created was pushed to both of them. So look at the config status. It says in here, local override yes, synchronize yes, yeah. Auto commit, and there we go. Everything looks fine. And you can go to audit trail. It might take 1 or 2 minutes, but configuration before pushing it to the device, what we've done here. This was VLAN 3000, then we create the IP interface, blah, blah. Now let's go to our switches. We have a console to that, so secondary, show VLAN. We should expect to see an additional VLAN 3000. And on this one, show IP interface brief, should expect to see another interface for VLAN 4000. Do you see? That doesn't exist on the other switch because we only have configured that interface on. Do you notice that there's no VLAN interface 4000, but there are some other that are local override. These were created beforehand, before we added this switch or these switches to Aruba Central. So that principle, you can really extremely useful and handy tool that you have in here, that you can create. You have multi-edit and so on and so forth. Now that's a group. The other parameter that you can create is what's called a site. Site is physical location of the devices, as well as labels. Labels are tags. So sites, by default, there are no sites. You create your sites. And the site, simply speaking, is a location, is a place where the device is physically located. So I can create a site. We have 4 unassigned devices. I'm going to add a site. We're going to add our 2 switches to that site. And you can convert label to sites if you would like to. Scroll down a bit, create a site here. And site name test site. Street address. I would just gonna up my street, city, my city, country, probably, I don't know, United States, whatever. It's all wrong information. 5100. I'll leave this as is. Hopefully that is fine. Then you have the devices, you can drag and drop them to the site if you would like to do so, that's not a problem. And then you are able to figure out what's going on the site health. So you can see details of the site. That is quite a useful feature actually, that creating a site. Let's see if we created the site correctly. I think the site has to have a proper address and so on. I would just move it devices to this location or this site. There we go. Now the unassigned will reduce, and now our switches are part of the site as shown in here. These are our switches. Perfect. Now for the labels, a label, simply speaking, is a tag. And descriptive tag, a device can only belong to one site, can only belong to one group, but might have multiple labels to probably filter based on the labels and so on. So I might say, go here and say, I will only like to see the devices in the site Allied Tech. So here we're going to see only devices. Click on here. You are on that site that are in Allied Tech, and then we can see the switches. We have 3 online switches. Okay, we have these 2, and then we have another one. They are in sync. These are the IP addresses. Again, you can make changes to this one as you wish. We can also filter on, of course, on group. We can filter on labels and so on. You can filter whatever you have. This is a switch that has this label, Alex Electronics. I can filter based on any label if you would like. So this is to control visibility and be able to even generate reports based on label size and groups. We're also moving the AP. So this is our AP that is live to the group we created, or we can create a new group for that AP and move that AP to that group, or we leave the AP in the same group. So it's the same process. That's a group with that AP belongs to. Now what we can do, we will be able, now we can look at the AP itself. So that's the AP, and we can issue the command show AP debug cloud server. You notice it is managed by COP. So we're going to see the COP details. First primary COP server that was added in the inventory, assigned a key or a license. So it's ready to be managed. Now by default, let's have a look what we have. Show networks. It does have employee 13.1x and has also employee pre-shared key. So here we can see if we go to that group, we can click on the config. Notice the group is only for access points only. And we have configured 2 SSIDs for that specific one. To add, you just click add and you just follow the screen procedure step by step. Obviously, give it a name, maybe test SSID. Next one will be the VLAN. Is it going to be external, instant AP, or is it going to be dynamic VLAN assignment, whatever settings? Let's say instant AP, internal assigned. And if we go next, we can go enterprise, but we don't have, we need to add settings like who is the clear pass. We already added clear pass here, and we can add a new one. But clear pass here, this is the one we have already added. We already have that clear pass. And then next, and for the roles, for the firewall, it's up to you. So role base, whatever, or network base, everyone is equal, or role base that configure the role, or unrestricted means open, and say next, and you have created the WLAN and we save it. That's just an example of a WLAN that we created. Now we have 3 WLANs. If you look into the AP itself and show network command, see 3 of them now listed. You can clearly see 3 networks. Of course, there's no client right now connected to that AP. To summarize what you can do for the VLAN, so for the DHCP, you can either have virtual controller, internal VLAN, magic VLAN, 172.31. The client will pick up from this range or from that range, or you can create your own custom range internally, because one of the instant access points will act as a virtual controller, or an external DHCP that is basically either native VLAN, the client will connect to the same VLAN where the AP is connected to, static VLAN, or dynamic VLAN in this case. Here we talk about the visual RF. So what is visual RF indeed? Visual RF is a tool, I call it heat map tool. And in simple term, you'll provide your heat map, you provide your plan, flow plan, they can be multiple. And either you are planning to add an AP or APs, or you can add multiple APs or single AP, it depends, or you can add an already deployed access points. So these access points can be added and they will show you the heat map, i.e. the propagation and the coverage of the signal inside that specific one. So is that something probably supported, and do you need to add any special features? The answer is no. All what you have to do, the only thing that you need is a site. So this is to do relate to the existence of site. So if you go to, say, let's have a look at the site that we supposed to be in. These are these are the access points, these are the switches in the site, and so on and so forth. So if you click on the overview, you're gonna see that's the floor plan where you can add topology. Of course, if you have devices connected and the site, these devices are in your network, you're gonna see a topology. Obviously, these devices are not properly connected, but at least you can clearly see that devices can be showing connections between themselves, and probably just these are down and this is not showing any connection anywhere, and you can flip this one if you would like to. So you can see also from the VLAN perspective, you can do say this show device names, or you don't want to show device names, you can see, and you can filter. Obviously, if you have a large amount of devices, you can filter and so on. In the flow plan here, you're gonna provide your you're gonna provide your floor plan itself. And if I would like to add some sort of, this is just to view and I can edit here. So in the properties here, we can see multiple different things. I can duplicate and so on. We'd like to draw a region. Region is, so we're going to draw a region here and we're going to start from the corner. So here, a light tick, that's our floor plan. I would like to add planned APs, so click on this is the model. I would like to go add planned APs. So 615, we pick up one of these models. Plan as a monitor, we don't want that. So we're gonna go for these planned APs basically. We're gonna plan this and another one. These are approximate propagation. They don't take, this is theoretical calculated propagation of the signal in decibel value or milledecibel. And so there we go. So add to access points, obviously. We can edit, we can make changes to this one, exit flow plan. And basically we can have a look. This is the flow plan, and we can see, so you can see deployed and so on. But again, we can see properties of that flow plan. Here we can see what's going on, and we can click here. Maybe properties, we can make changes. This is when you're planning your access point deployment. Now, you can also import an external or zip value file that has been exported by another system. You can right click now and you can export floor plans. You can export bill of material if you like. That's showing all these parameters, individual RF. And there we go. Take maybe a little bit of time, but then you can download this one as a PDF or as a Word format file indeed. That's the one. We're going to open that file. And that's an example of, very simple example of visual RF. Of course, it's extremely simple and enable editing. We're going to just turn this one off, and you can see you can integrate this one with whatever you have. Now we have three APs. We have this propagation data rate, and we have the heat map. One of them is down, of course. And then you have the inventory. They give it to you also. Nice details actually that will show you what you have in your network in terms of the access points as well as how they propagate into the network. You can, if you have multiple flows, you can say, and they are, say, for example, maybe identical, and I can duplicate. So I can say duplicate. They will ask you how many flows. Let's say I would like to duplicate 3 flows. Yeah. So in the flow, start flow 2 and then in flow 3. That will make it 3 flows. Copy words, copy region, auto provision new APs or duplicate APs. So we're going to save and we're going to see 2 more flows are going to be built in this case. So you can see now the flows that are going to be built. Now we talk about the tools available at our disposal, things like reports, firmware upgrade, and so on and so forth. There are a bunch of tools that might be useful to you on your daily operation, things like firmware. Remember, this is not central in the cloud. It means the firmware, you need to upload whatever firmware you want to the to Central On Prem, so it can be used when you set the compliance per group or so on, or try to upgrade. So here you are on the firmware, you're on global view, firmware. You click on upload, you notice they're already been uploaded. So where do you get them? You download them from the support portal. So you can go to support portal here, HPE networking or asp.networks. We will go to networking support.hp.com. Here you are able to download whatever version of operating system. So I'll show you an example of this. Close this one. You go software, and I might want to search for my CX switch. So that's software here, CX 6300 switch. So you find that this is the latest version, nearly. So we'll download this one. And that one, when you download it, becomes available for upload. So you download this version of operating system. And once downloaded, you will use this one to update the Center On Prem. So it becomes available as one of the versions. Now, what we have here, you can go for the firmware. You can see the switches listed here. Let's say I have 6300 switch, and I would like to upgrade this one. Obviously, that belongs to a certain group that we have not set any firmware compliance. Setting firmware compliance indicates that when a device is added to that group, the firmware compliance will kick in and will upgrade the switch to the other version. So if I decide to upgrade, let's have a look at the switch firmware. Still 1014. We're going to go and just once that finishes download, we'll use that to upgrade our device. So we can go simply switch. We have access points also. We can do upgrade for the APs, but I can also set the switch, and I can go and select this one. I can upgrade all, or I can upgrade individual device. I can upgrade later date. I can schedule the upgrade if need be in the maintenance window. Download firmware image from custom location if you would like. Yeah. And you might give it, you have your own internal server. We download all that. Or if you you might want to say, okay, version of firmware that you already have in Central On Prem, you did download. We're going to download that one, upload the firmware. We're going to see that the new firmware becomes available. And that is also applicable to the access points. The same applies to the access points. So now the other tool, I will come back to this to show you how that works. Other tools, we have reports, of course. So reports basically is one of the essential parts of any management software. Here we can browse, manage, you can create 4 different categories of reports in this case. And we have 22 types. To create one, again, you pick up whatever you like, of course. Let's say client inventory or maybe client session. That's all about the clients. Capacity planning, configuration audit, infrastructure inventory. So I might go for this, for example. And I would like groups all, yeah, every group. And I would like device inventory, whatever I need, offline, device types, and so on. So you pick up whatever you select, whatever you need to, and that show you over what period of time. So that's reporting that you can generate per your requirements. Tools available are really great tools. So these tools, things like network check. So let's say the switch, type of device switch. I can pick up multiple switches. Let's say I'd like to pick up this and this, our switches that we know they work. And what kind of test? Bing test. Okay. What's the destination? Let's say I would like to Bing 192.168.200.190. This is the IP for our Central On Prem. What is this going to do? Is going to perform the Bing test on multiple switches, so that will help you diagnose what's going on very quickly. You see 2 switches, the same command is running on both of these switches right now. So rather than you individually connect and log into each switch on its own, they run the commands on both of these switches simultaneously. Meanwhile, let's check our download. Is it done? Yes. So what we can do, basically, this is downloaded. We'll pick it up and upload it to Central On Prem now. See, on the first switch was successful. On the second switch, it's also successful. So really great tool. You can issue the command or commands in one go on multiple devices. For the firmware, we'll go back here, we'll upload, and we'll pick up the file from our configuration. So I think it's in documents, and that's the file I would like to pick. And I will upload this file. So once that file is uploaded, it will be listed as one of the options available in here. We'll come back to this once that is uploaded. We'll wait actually for this to be uploaded. So the software or the firmware has been uploaded. And if you'd like to go to the switches, and let us say I would like, this is online, I would like to upgrade this specific one, I can then pick up from the available options. We have 2 options, so I can push this one, download firmware from the custom location. We don't need this. If we do it now, can automatically reboot. We can do this because there's no danger here. And then we'll come back to this to double check. And you can initiation, look at this, initiated firmware. So I can expand this one. Upgrade for this device. So we can see that it's being done. One of the other things that you can see, events related or config related stuff, is audit trail, really important. Now, the other thing is, in Central On Prem, you can always change the time. By default, this hour 3 hours. I can go up to 3 months. Now we can see audit trail dating up to 3 months back, for example. That applies again to things like reports. Again, going back to tools, I can do device check also in the tools. As you could see, we've done network check, device check. We can do other things, command line, some commands we can send, and we can consult. Consult, simply speaking, is remote SSH. And you can pick up the device you would like to consult to, and that device, let's say, for example, what type of device, access port or switch. Let's say, I don't know, a switch, an access point, AP1, that's the only one available here. Admin, and then password, I think this way is correct, or might be, yeah. So we are on the console of that AP. So you don't have to have any console access, because practically you wouldn't have physical console to each one of these devices. So this session actually also gets recorded. So there are older ones you can download, so you can see kind of audio trail and a trace of commands. So this is a recorded session, for example. It will show what happened then. So we can start. There's nothing really, basically, but if you have any events that have taken place, you can delete, obviously. But for example, I'd like to connect to this AP. Again, the same story here. There's nothing really happened on this AP, but it will show you all the sessions. Yeah, there we go now. Show AP. These are commands that have been issued in that. So you can export it, basically. It's kind of a review for maybe auditing purposes or for troubleshooting purposes, and so on and so forth. In the commands tab here, in the commands tab, you select the type of device, let's say a switch, and what available switches. Let's say I would like to go and issue on multiple switches, right? And what am I gonna do? Here, all categories show. So let us say I would like to issue whatever command. So show clock, make it simple, and we add that command. We can issue multiple commands or maybe a single command and so on. And on these two switches, I'm going to run the command. They will, again, if you remember, they will show us on both of these. They will run simultaneously. If you go to audit trail, again, we can see that we're troubleshooting here. Firmware upgrade that we have done, it says failed to execute firmware upgrade for whatever reason. Again, just we're showing you that upgrade device primary partition, okay, and from 1014 to 1016. It says in here, failed to execute firmware upgrade command on that switch, maybe access rights, whatever. This is not my focus. Is it shows you what is going on that one. And now we issued the two commands here, troubleshooting command, show clock. If we go back to the tools and we go to the commands, we can see the result or the output of those commands issued on those two switches. We have picked them up. We can see that. So that's the clock, show clock command on the first switch and on the second switch as well. Another tool that really important for you are events and alerts. So this is something really important, as you can clearly see here. Alerts are events that took place and they match the threshold or something. The severity, you decide what kind of severity you have. If you acknowledge all, that will delete all of them. Alert in the config tab. So let's look at events. There will be thousands of events over a period of time. And here we have simple number of events, 10 of them. Show events, and you might say, okay, show me all type of events. Select clear all. I would like to show me this, show me that, show me client connection, DHCP, show me NTP, show ACP, show me more. So you can pick up whatever you like to view, and you can apply the filter basically. So then there we go. We can see a list of things that you are interested in. These are the events. Alerts is you configure what events will constitute an alert and the level of alerts: critical, major, minor, or warning. This say what are criticals. Here says COP upgrade fail. So on the actual Central on-prem, major, new switch connected, and then this is, so you can acknowledge all, you can see different things here. And I can also configure alerts. So you can configure alerts under these categories. Alerts for the user category. Now this is being configured. Tick box, it means configured. User account deleted. We haven't. Plus means you can configure. So you have user, you have access point, you have switch, and you have more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can go to the access point. Access point connected is being configured. We're saying if the access point is disconnected for 10 minutes or more, and here for all, so we haven't picked up any group or site or device, and we classify that as a major. Please send me an alert, email me notification, and then default recipient or email somebody. Webhooks, if you have connection, for example, to a system that is ticketing system that generate a ticket, or SNMP trap if that connects to an SNMP, and then syslog, okay, if the integration happens. So you have options that you can configure here, and that will generate alert based on whatever category and based on whatever you decided to, what is your basically aim and objectives here. We can see the ticked one means is being configured. The plus, it means you can configure, click on it, and then you have your parameters. So alerts is you decide what kind of alerts, what is this, and is a critical, major, minor, or warning. We also have system management where you can do things, can look at the appliance performance, the health, the memory usage. So you look at the health status of your appliance here. We can CPU status, storage. So give you an indication how healthy your appliance, i.e. Central on-prem, looks, and look at service monitoring. This is under what's called system management. You can look at the version. The version is up to date, 2.5.8.9, and here any logs related to that. Network, if you have any proxy settings and so on. Any external services connected to, like SMTP. We have not configured SMTP. Obviously, again, that all depends what you aim. If you'd like to completely isolate this one, not connect to an external SMTP, fair enough. You might have your on-prem SMTP that you are dealing with for internal communication. You can do backup and restore as well. Backup and depends. So is it SFTP? You need to have SFTP server or secure copy, and then you supply or provide all details of that one. You can restore. I can also connect to a log, generate logs here. So we can generate the logs, these logs basically in progress, and you can download them. That's logs. Migration from Airwave. Again, that's something you can do if you have Airwave. Data center redundancy. If you have multiple Central on-prem servers, you can also configure redundancy here. And system security, enable insecure SSH. So you decide who can connect to this one. Auto recovery, in the case of you have multiple servers, what to do if one of them or maybe two of them fail. What is the behavior in this case? What to do? How the system deals with that kind of failure in this case. One of the other things you can do is you can SS a command line, if you like, SSH from the command line. So you can SSH, and the name or the username or the admin name is called COP admin at your the IP address 192.168.200.190. I'm going to say yes. And that will be the same password as the GUI password. So there we go. Now we are on the command line. If you need to do any maintenance, reset, some sort of configuration, and so on, but that also can be dangerous because you might delete the system basically. So you can go option number 1. You can shut down, reboot, factory reset. If you do factory reset, for example, you will have to go through the process again. There are certain steps you need to follow. You can shut down, you can reboot. That will take a bit of time. And if you have multiple servers in a cluster, then that also can be it can be also dangerous in here. So that's one of the things you can also do in this case. Now we're looking to the global view. One of the other things, if you go to a group, like say a template-based group, let's say one of these. One of the really key tools, if you go to device, you can push individual device configuration. So if I, let us say, go to my switch, its switches, let's search for what is the name of the group that my switch was included into that. Lab CX group. Yeah. Is that that's a group distributed CX GUI. If I go to the individual device, again, everything is shown here. You can change. You can see details of that device. But on the left-hand side menu, if you click on device and you push any config here, that is on that specific device. That's on that specific device. So if you click on this, you'll find all details of that specific device. I tried to upgrade another switch, might work, I don't know, but double check again. We can look into audit trail if anything that has been a failure. Troubleshoot, device. We have not yet seen, so I might refresh this. Oh, that's on that. That's why it's not showing actually, because it is related to that specific group. This is one of the things. If you click on the group and go audit trail, it will be related to that group specifically. Global relates to all login from user COP admin. That's what we have done. Again, this is an older one, so 1439, and now 1443. So not yet. It shows you login from user COP admin. It shows the event here. Yeah, so we can see what's going on. Now, if you need, you might want to remove the device. So that device can be removed. You need to remove the license or the key before you remove the device. If you click on organization again, you'll find a device replacement tab. So if there's any replacement history that you might have, in this case we don't have. There's no replacement history here basically. And there's a platform integration. This is, you can integrate this one with webhooks, means things like a ticketing system. You can integrate that COP to automate the process of generating ticketing tickets to a ticketing system. Again, device replacement. We haven't done any device replacement in this case. There's nothing here. Now what you can do, I can select the device type, in this case Campus AP or Instant AP, and what site that belongs to, let's say a light tech, and then you pick up your device. This is a device, and you're gonna this device, select device and site, and you click in here you're going to replace it with a different device. So I'm not going to do it. This is a reversible operation. That will be deemed unusable. And the new device, if you have a new device you have added, then you pick up the new device. Again, remember, this is irreversible and irreversible. Do you want to really proceed? It means you can't go back. And that, in this example, this AP12 will be deemed as faulty, which has to retain back. Now, well, obviously we don't have new devices added, but if you do have new devices, you will see it listed, the new device. And anything related to the old device will be mapped to the new device. And so we'll keep the logs and any related stuff to that with the new device. Really important to know this is a reversible process. Again, to go back, as we said, you click on the account home. That will take you back to Center On Prem, the private cloud based. So anyway, assume that we log in and we're connected. It means that we are able to go back. To delete a device, you can bring it back again. That's different than replacing the device. So to delete the device, you can pick up that device from the device list here, from devices, as we have shown you initially. And then you can pick up that device. Let's say you can't delete it now. You have to remove action. You have to detach subscription. Then after that, you can delete the device. So detach subscription. Let's say that is the case now. And now we can pick up, we can see that you can delete the device. You can archive, so it's not used, but you can also delete the device. You can add it again. Thank you so much for watching.